last World Cup, we saw a 17-year-old Pele fulfill a promise to his father and turn Brazil into a global superpower. But as we move into 1962, the beautiful game is about to get ugly. We're heading to Chile, a country literally rebuilding from the biggest earthquake in history, to witness the rise of anti-football locker room riots and a tournament so violent it changed the rules of the game forever.
Hey everyone, welcome to the World Cup Review Series, where we explore every single World Cup in 20 minutes or less. Today we are hitting 1962. Now, if 1958 was about the beautiful game and the rise of Pele, 1962 was the absolute opposite. It was gritty, it was violent, and it was literally held on shaky ground. We're heading to Chile. But here's the crazy thing. Just 2 years before the tournament, Chile was hit by the Great Chilean Earthquake, which actually, fun fact, was the most powerful earthquake ever recorded in human history. It was a 9.5 magnitude earthquake. It killed tens of thousands of people and absolutely leveled the country's infrastructure. Half of the stadiums that they planned on using were literally in piles of rubble. FIFA almost moved the tournament to Argentina, but the head of the Chilean committee gave this legendary quote: "Because we have nothing, we will do everything." Injected in my veins, honestly. They built back up and they went from the 8 planned stadiums down to the 4, and somehow they pulled it off. But man, once the football started, let's just say the beautiful game took a vacation. All right, let's talk tactics. In the last episode, we saw Brazil win with that free-flowing 4-2-4. In 1962, the rest of the world decided if we can't outplay them, we're going to break them. This tournament marks the official rise of anti-football. Teams realize that if you just sit deep, pack the defense, and hack the living daylights out of the star players, you can actually win ugly. This is the birth of what we call haram ball today, aka Teta ball. Defensive, ugly, and physically violent. Because of this, 1962 saw a massive spike in red cards and injuries. In fact, Pele, the best player in the world, only played the first 2 games of this World Cup. He had a massive groin injury, pubalgia, and had to sit out the rest of the tournament. Imagine the World Cup today losing Mbappe or Haaland in the first week. That was 1962. But don't worry, Brazil had a backup plan, and his name was Garrincha. If you only remember one thing about 1962, it's got to be one of the best battles on a football pitch of all time, the Battle of Santiago. This wasn't a football match. It was actually like a sanctioned riot. It started before the game. 2 Italian journalists wrote articles pre-World Cup calling Chile a poverty-stricken dump where the women were, quote, unattractive and the people lived in slums. Not the best way to make friends. When Italy stepped onto the pitch in Santiago, the Chilean players and 66,000 fans were out for blood. The first foul happened at 12 seconds in. Within minutes, players were throwing actual haymakers. It was like 11-on-11 boxing match. An Italian player, Giorgio Farini, Italian for sure, got sent off and refused to leave the pitch. The police literally had to drag him off. And later, Chile's Lionel Sanchez, Hispanic, broke an Italian player's nose with a left hook right in front of the ref. No card. Sanchez then leveled another guy with a punch later in the game. Still no card. The referee, Ken Aston, was so traumatized by the game, he later invented yellow and red cards because he realized verbal warnings don't work when the guys are trying to decapitate each other. Chile won 2-0, and the ref literally sprinted into the locker room at the final whistle to avoid being, So, discussing Brazil here, they had an interesting 1962 World Cup. So, with Pele out, as I mentioned earlier, out after first 2 games, pubalgia, the 1962 World Cup became the Garrincha show. Now, Garrincha was one of the wildest characters in sports history. Honestly, he gives Maradona, which we'll discuss later, a run for his money. This guy was born with crooked legs, one curved inwards, the other curved outwards. Doctors said he'd never walk properly, let alone play. Instead, he became the greatest dribbler ever. But his life off the pitch, absolute chaos. So when discussing his family tree, Garrincha's father reportedly had 25 kids, and Garrincha himself had at least 15. The man was a notorious womanizer and a severe alcoholic. He also has a bit of a dark side. So he actually has 2 hit and run accidents on his record where both times he killed family members. The first time, his mother in law, and the second time, his father, both while driving drunk. Kids do not do that. His attitude, he didn't really like football that much. To him, it was just kind of like a hobby, something he was good at. Think of a 1960s version of Ben White. Honestly, I really want to cut that part out because I love Ben White, and to me personally, I don't think it's a hobby, but to him, but I have to do that because I think that will get clicks and views. So I'm just adding it in there. If you want to skip this part, go ahead. If you want to laugh at me, laugh at me. But unlike Mr. White, he had a serious drinking problem. In the quarterfinals against England, Garrincha was so good that the British paper said that he was an angel with bent legs. He scored twice, assisted once, and even when a stray dog ran onto the pitch and eluded all the players, Garrincha just laughed. He was playing a complete different game than everybody else. In the semifinals against Chile, he was so dominant, the Chilean fans started cheering for him. He got sent off in that game, but the Brazilian government actually pressured FIFA to let him play in the final anyway, and they did. The final was Brazil versus Czechoslovakia. The Czechs were a solid, disciplined team led by Josef Mastpust, who actually won the Ballon d'Or that year. The Czechs scored first, just like Sweden did in 1958, but Brazil was just too deep of a team. Amarildo, Pele's replacement, he had Bubliagia. Zito and Vavá scored to seal a 3-1 win. Brazil became only the second team ever to win back-to-back World Cups, and they did most of it without Pelé, the king. The win cemented Brazil as the kings of football, but it also confirmed that the game was changing. The goal averages dropped significantly, teams were becoming more tactical, more defensive, and way more aggressive. It was the end of the innocent era of football and the start of the high stakes, win at all cost mentality, which we see a lot modern days. So where does 1962 rank? For me personally, third best one so far out of the 7 World Cups I've covered. The football itself was a bit uglier because of this anti-football movement, but it created anti-football, which we see a lot in modern days. The stories, immaculate. Between the earthquake that happened, the Battle of Santiago, the madness of Garrincha, you can't beat it for entertainment. It's like a TV show. Next time, we're heading to 1966. It's coming home. Maybe. We'll be talking about England, a stolen trophy found by a dog named Pickles, and much, much more controversial things. Leave a comment below. If you were a ref in the Battle of Santiago, would you have just walked off at halftime? Hit the like button, and I'll see you in 1966. Peace.